Good morning. I'm Star Austin, and today's time for wonder is God's Hat, adapted from the story by Christopher Bucci. Once there were two villages, and it just so happened that in the middle of these two villages was a rock wall. It started off sloping and then rose and then sloped back down again, but it was long and it divided the two villages. And yet they were not divided. They saw this wall as their gathering place, and they would come and talk and give each other news from the other side of the wall. They would trade sweet honey and wheat and meats together. And they were one big community, despite being two villages with a wall between them. And one day, something magnificent happened. There was a person, perhaps a woman, who came walking right up that wall. And she was bedazzled in a big robe and hat. And she had this presence about her that just vibrated throughout the villages. And the people ran to the walls because they knew this being was divine. This being was God herself. And they ran to the wall, and she threw sweet candies to the children and flowers to the maiden and tipped her hat to the young men. And she was pleasant and smiling and beaming and laughing, and everyone felt good in her presence. And as quickly as she came, she went down the wall, walking off into the distance. And the people began to talk. How magnificent! Did you feel that? That felt like divinity. That was amazing. Who was that woman? And then a woman from the north side of the wall said, and did you see her beautiful red hat? And a man on the south side of the wall said, I think you mean blue hat. No, no, I'm quite certain it was scarlet red. No, said another from the other side of the wall. It was royal blue. And they began to fight. Pretty soon, the children were throwing stones at each other, feeding off the energy of the grown ups who were screaming back and forth, red, blue, red, blue. And suddenly there was a division among these two villages that had never been before. The people in the north went back to their homes, and the people in the south went back to their homes. And over the next day or two, there were less people gathering at the wall. When they did come to the wall, the fight would start again. I'm sure her hat was red. I don't know why you think it was blue. Well, I know it was blue. I don't know why you think it was red. And so the fight would begin again. And soon the people did not gather at the wall, and there was no trading. So the people to the north did not have the sweetness of the honey because all the beehives were on the south. And the people in the south didn't have any bread for their honey because all the grains grew to the north. The trading stopped. The children didn't gather at the wall to play together anymore. The friendships stopped. And many years went by like this, with the two towns completely divided, ignoring each other and abandoning the wall. The wall became in disarray and started to crumble, and it was no longer cared for. But one day, the woman came back, walking right along the crumbling wall, just as she had before, laughing and smiling, with candies for the children and flowers for the adults. And the people ran. But this time they weren't running in joy and jubilation. They weren't feeling some excitable energy at the stranger who came to their community. No, they were on a mission and they were going to get some answers. Hey, lady, I need to know, said one man. When you were here last time, were you wearing a red hat or a blue hat? And the goddess said, I don't have a red hat. And a woman shouted, Aha, I knew it. The hat was blue. And she said, Well, I don't have a blue hat either. And the people were confused, and the goddess thought, aha, I know. And she said to the people, I must have worn my favorite hat that day. It's quite tall and grand. And the people started nodding, yes, yes. She said, and it's blue on one side and red on the other. And then she walked away. And the people were stunned and silent. And finally, a child started to laugh. And then the adults started to laugh. And all of a sudden, the people realized how silly they'd been to fight over a hat that had nothing to do with anything at all. And I wonder if you've ever denied yourself the sweetness of life and the companionship of good friends over something that didn't even matter. I wonder.